Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney Madany, and this is my final paper presentation for Gender, Media, and Society at MSU Billings. Before being enrolled in this class, I did not consider how gender was being represented in the media that I interacted with the majority of the time. I do remember a few specific assignments in junior high and high school where I studied and presented on gender-specific topics. But something I vividly remember related to gender and society was seeing a photo comparison of what politics would look like if there were only women involved. The author took all the men away in these photos to only show one or two women at the table. And here are a few examples. The point of this exercise, obviously, is to show that women are underrepresented in this arena, no matter the country or political scenario. There were two major themes that stood out to me in this class. The first theme deals with teenage and young adult quality and quantity of media consumption, and the second deals with actual representation of genders on and off screen. Jim Steyer, the CEO of Common Sense Media, explains, full brain development doesn't really occur until you are in your mid-20s. So the idea that kids 8 or 10 or 15 have the same level of intellectual and emotional maturity as an adult is nuts. Steyer's comment shows that it is important to recognize how much time children are spending consuming media and paying attention to the type of media that is being consumed, because the media is formulating the perceptions of the world for these young individuals. In the video Misrepresentation that we watched for this class, several statistics throughout that video show how much time teenagers spend watching television, listening to music, and on the internet. All of these combined statistics show that teenage media consumption adds up to over 10 hours a day. That's equivalent to a full-time job plus overtime. Understanding teenage media consumption is important to me because media impacts the way perceptions are formed and the way rhetoric happens in our everyday lives. Media consumption among teenagers is pretty high. Although spending time doing other activities unrelated to media is one way to change these trends, it does not remove the problem. Magazines, books, music, TV, movies, and pornography are always going to be a factor in the world. Instead of just avoiding these medias, teaching young children and teenagers how to become media literate, to analyze and interpret the media around them, provides an opportunity to recognize and fix discrepancies in what they see and to question the scenarios they see portrayed instead of accepting them as normal and moving on. The second theme I found important deals with issues of gender representation in media as well as behind the scenes. This theme takes two different forms: representation of gender characteristics symbolically in media and actual physical gender representation of who is working on these projects. On screen or in print advertisements, females are often defined by acts that are submissive, powerless, and dependent. And typically, manhood looks like power, preparedness, strength, or control, and assumes that a successful man is a married father with a job. When these boundaries are placed on genders, it perpetuates unhealthy stereotypes of what is defined as normal or expected within the male and female genders. Society tends to accept these scenarios as presented and does not blink an eye at the inaccuracies depicted within them. When looking at representation behind the scenes in media, Lausen said that while both males and females are represented on screen, females tend to be represented less than males. She reported that women accounted for 17% of directors working on the top 250 films, down from 18% in 2020. And the percentage of women directors working on the top 100 films retreated from 16% in 2020 to only 12% in 2021. The lack of female representation and input behind the screen is evident through these statistics. This creates a domino effect problem, where lack of representation leads to a lack of new perspectives and ideas in media, which then leads to inaccurate and skewed worldviews among consumers. When male and female perspectives are not represented simultaneously and utilized for the creation of shows, the media that is consumed falls flat instead of pushing boundaries and encouraging new ideas. I have personally experienced the toxic consequences of how media frames men and women. After participating in programs and classes such as this one, I understand and value the skill of media literacy. Our last reading of the semester triggered this thought in me that critical media literacy provides individuals power over their culture and thus enables people to create their own meanings and identities and to shape and transform the material and social conditions of their culture and society. When I recognize the patterns and seemingly normal trends around me, no matter how unhealthy or inaccurate, I now possess tools to become part of the conversation and solution instead of turning a blind eye to what is occurring. This class opened my eyes to my responsibilities as a media literate parent and a media literate professional. In my personal life, it is important to know what media factors are influencing my view of myself, my family, and the world around me. Having two male children, it becomes my and my husband's responsibility to teach them the concepts covered in this class, help them to recognize unhealthy representations of men and women, help them understand that men can have emotions and participate openly in dialogues, and help them focus on developing skills outside of a virtual world. Professionally, being skilled in media literacy allows me to function in a new way as a public relations professional. I can recognize unhealthy gender stereotypes or when there's a lack of representation in advertisements or campaigns and offer solution to those issues rather than prolong them. Being a female, I can confidently insert myself into conversations or scenarios in the workplace where female perspectives are currently lacking and help expand the views of those I work with. Thank you all so much for listening to my presentation. Here are the references I used if you are interested in understanding these issues further. Thank you so much.